It was Sunday, March 3rd, 1946. The beginning of a reign of terror for the people of Texarkana and surrounding areas of Arkansas and Texas. A terror so indelibly imprinted that today, 30 years later, people still speak of it fearfully. The incredible story you are about to see is true, where it happened and how it happened. Only the names have been changed.
Of course, this is not strictly true, although the events of the film were inspired by serial killings that did take place. The truth is that The Town That Dreaded Sundown is a strange mix of prototypical slasher film and political satire, and as such, it may just be brilliant.
World War II had ended only 8 months earlier, and the town of Texarkana, population 40,000, which straddles the Texas-Arkansas border, was re-gearing for peace after 4 years of rationing, war bonds, and shortages.
The presentation of idyllic late 40s living backed by a voiceover description of uncertainties in peacetime prosperity are so exaggerated as to feel almost farcical, as though director Charles Pierce is mocking nostalgia for a simpler time.
Some people still had doubts about President Truman and were worried over the growing tension with Russia. The wave of strikes sweeping the country were being felt by many of the Texarkana businesses.
Texarkana is presented as a model embodiment of everything American, freshly reassured of its military and moral power and authority, having defeated the Nazi menace. But in 1976, when the film was released, America in the post-Vietnam years was a far cry from those boom years, and the people were grown cynical. Given the wry presentation, one can imagine the movie invites them to share in its effrontery, embodied by the Phantom Killer. During the murder scenes, we often hear the killer's breathing as though in the first person. We are inside his mask, and thus associating with him rather than his victims. This prefigures the point of view shots in the Friday the 13th movies, for example. It suggests culpability, in that the thing smashing the facade of perfection is a beast we can all relate to, and perhaps have some part in. This may be the first major slasher film to place the audience in a position of identifying less with its heroes than with the killer.
They're really stirred up in Austin. We're getting the most famous criminal investigator in the country assigned to this case.
You don't mean that fellow they call the Lone Wolf of the Texas Rangers?
That's right.
The big man himself, Captain J.D. Morales, living legend. The most famous ranger in the history of Texas.
When the aptly named Captain Morales is brought in, he's presented as an almost humorous representation of upstanding, law-abiding authority, by virtue of his own humorlessness. He's a serious man, representing a serious edifice of moral certitude.
Who is this man?
This is Mr. George Hartman. Mr. Hartman's a prominent citizen here in Texarkana. He's interested in police work.
Fine. You tell Mr. Hartman if he's interested in police work, he can pick up a copy of the Police Gazette down at the corner.
He's here to stop the killer cold. Asked about his strategy, he declares,
I plan on catching him. Or killing him.
Thus the establishment in the face of any subversive element.
Base, Unit 2!
Go ahead, Unit 2.
I heard a couple of more shots. They came from about a mile in the woods north of where I'm parked.
At times documentary in style, and others almost procedural in its methodical dramatic presentation, the movie often indulges in comic moments as well.
Don't get excited now.
What the hell you think you're doing?
You heard the captain. We're supposed to make this look good. Now, we're supposed to be lovers. I might get a little hugging before the night's over.
You watch that hand.
Notice here where the drama of the situation, played straight, is undercut by goofy funereal music, a composition more in keeping with the Scooby-Doo style mystery story.
My God. Oh my God.
The humor in this scene is specifically grounded in the contrast between the secret impropriety of the chaperone's behavior in the face of the wholesome tradition and nostalgia of its setting. There is every appearance of frivolity, and only in the background, a nervously vigilant police apparatus.
What time they get out of that thing?
Not till probably 1:30 or so.
I want to intensify patrols in the parking area from 1 o'clock on.
In the face of all this, the transgression of a murderer preying on people indulging in secret vices seems honest. The Phantom Killer's aggression is pure, in contrast to the hidden corruption surrounding him, and he isn't fooled by the townspeople's displays. Like us, he glimpses their true character. The difference is, where we are amused by their hypocrisy, he is moved to violence.
Would you sit up?
Funnily enough, the couples he attacks are also seemingly very innocent. Their notion of hot times on a lover's lane is for the male to rest his head on his lady's shoulder or lap. The violence of his assault on the boy is contrasted with images of the girl hilariously inept at simply handling an automobile. The potential for death is treated seriously, but the characters are presented in a mocking fashion. They don't deserve to die, but they're such caricatures that they're hard to connect to. In this killing, there's no musical accompaniment. It's played straight. The killer is exhausted and breathes heavily. The victim's desperation is palpable. We are briefly immersed, for once, in the ugly, harsh reality of violence. It is immediately followed by the most absurd images in the film, where the killer straps a knife to a trombone and plays his victim off in the silliest possible way. Is this horrifying? Is it funny? The answer depends heavily on the viewer's sensibilities. And as the lines between humor and horror are blurred, the difference between our amusement and the killer's rage is as well. We become more like him.
The third on-scheduled strike of the Phantom Killer brought nationally known newspaper, magazine, and radio reporters to Texarkana. Life and Look magazines sent their photographers and journalists. CBS, NBC, and the Mutual Broadcasting System brought in nationally known commentators to arrange for nationwide broadcasts through the local radio station. A reward fund, which had been started after the first attack, was now up to $8,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the killer.
With the announcement of increased national news interest and posting of rewards, the ultra-serious treatment again borders on farce. Whether it strikes you as appropriate or absurd depends on how much respect you have for such institutions as the press and the police, and the movie has so far encouraged us to have very little.
Did you state to this man that you killed 5 people in Texarkana?
Yeah. You got me. I'm the Phantom. I killed him. Bring on the newspaper reporters and I'll give you a confession.
It also indicates a capitulation on the part of Morales, who previously had no tolerance for press involvement.
I don't want any newspaper people or hangers-on getting in my way.
His edifice of certainty is slipping. At this point, the story diverges, as the police investigation becomes increasingly clownish and wanders further afield from the proximity of the killer. What is it with jumping a car into a bog? It seems no depiction of Southern lawmen is complete without it. The comedy is no longer focused only on Sparkplug, as the entire investigative force is made ridiculous.
I'd like to know just why the hell there ain't a sign up down there on that road telling me that the road ends.
Culminating with the attempt on Mrs. Reed's life, the attacks become markedly more serious, without the comic undertones of earlier scenes.
What day is this?
He's 4 days behind his schedule, Captain.
Maybe this last time he went 20 days instead of exactly 3 weeks. This next time he might go 19 or 22. Who the hell knows?
He's killed 5 people and he damn near killed 3 more, and we're no closer to catching him than we were 4 months ago. We ain't never gonna catch him, are we, Captain?
Finally, even Morales himself must admit that it would take a miracle to catch the Phantom Killer, and we get a return of that comically funereal music theme.
If we do catch him, it's going to be a miracle.
Please make law. Stolen car found 1.5 miles off Highway 82 on Crank Road. Texas license plate, make, Chevrolet, 2-door, black coupe.
And it's here, really, that the story ends. But there's a coda, which I can only think was added to build a little action into the film's climax. Morales and Deputy Ramsey find the Phantom preposterously in costume at a pit where they expected to find him.
I think he's done it to us again.
One thing about it, at least he knows we've been here. Let's get those bloodhounds.
But he ultimately vanishes into the swamp. A killer never caught is an evocative thing. It leaves the public and us as observers with the unsettled feeling that he may strike again at any time. Metaphorically, he represents the phantom of public unrest, of subversive elements that exist to this day.
Texarkana today still looks pretty much the same. And if you should ask people here on the streets what they believe happened to the Phantom Killer, most would say that he is still living here and is walking free.
What do you think? Is The Town That Dreaded Sundown a deliberate work of brilliance, or am I reading far too much into a fun monster movie, and The Town That Dreaded Sundown is only accidentally brilliant? Please like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.